I'll tell you what was great. The main event of 205 Live. And I don't get to watch 205 Live every single week, which is why I don't talk about it very much. But I watched the no disqualification match from 205 Live between Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy. One of the best WWE matches, one of the best matches, period, all year. And the story was very simple. Ali beat Murphy in the Cruiserweight tournament 4 months ago. He went on to WrestleMania to challenge Cedric Alexander in the finals to crown a new Cruiserweight champion. He fell short. 2 months ago, Ali and Murphy had a rematch. Murphy won. And so here we are, ready for the rubber match. No disqualification. Murphy worked over Ali's lower back for a good part of the match. That sort of played into the story. He was just punishing him and punishing the back. Steel steps came into play, much to the chagrin of the fans, who seemed more interested in chanting, "We want tables," as these two guys were killing each other. "We want tables, no more stairs," is what they chanted. They shut them up real fast, though, when Ali set those steps up in the corner, set them up vertically as like a base. And he delivered a superplex to Buddy Murphy off of the ring steps. Referee was there to steady the steps. If he wasn't, these two almost surely would have killed themselves. Kind of like the Young Bucks last night at the New Japan show, holding the ladder so that Cody and Kenny didn't kill themselves. By the way, can you think of two like douchey or like white boy names? Cody and Kenny. I guess Chad, right? No offense to any Chads that are listening right now. There's something about Todd. Todd's another one, right? Chad. Imagine a faction of Chad, Todd, Cody, and Kenny. How is that not a heel faction? Anyway, the thing about this match is that it can be very hard to be unique in matches like this anymore, because we've seen everything that you could possibly see. Everything that you could possibly do, every combination with stairs and chairs and ladders and tables. But this I've never seen before. A spot like that where you set the steps up vertically and use it as a base for a superplex, that was pretty unique. Outside the ring, Ali crotched Murphy on the barricade. This was over behind the announce table. And Ali then backs up. He jumps up onto the announce table, leaps from the announce table onto the barricade, grabs Murphy, and gives him a Spanish fly off the barricade onto the announce desk. And they both bounced off into the floor. The table did not break. I am the table indeed. That thing didn't give at all. It's not even like, oh, the leg broke. It was a little unsteady. Nope. That thing must have been made of concrete. The way these two guys just sort of bounced off of it. Back inside, Murphy destroyed Ali. 3 or 4 just straight brutal knees to the face. And I just thought to myself, that really should be a finish. And I'm not a fan of hitting knees like that. The way they look and sound, they're devastating enough to be a finish. You knee somebody in the face, you're going to knock them the F out. This guy, he hits 3 or 4 of them, and then the other guy is barely stunned. It's a small criticism, and I'm not just reserving it for these two. These two were hardly the only two that do this. You could say this about Kenny Omega in a lot of his matches. The matches with Okada, as great as those matches were. How many V-trigger knees does it take? It looks great. It sounds great. That thing really should be a finish. You should have to hit no more than 2 or 3 of those at most to put somebody away. So he was hitting knees like that to the face, and, he couldn't win with them. Ali picked up the win with another innovative move using the steps. He ran up the steps, which were set up normally in the ring, ran up the steps, grabbed Murphy by the head, hit a tornado DDT for the win. I think, had he set up a table in the ring and hit that Spanish fly off the top rope through the table, the people would have lost their minds. They were so obsessed with tables throughout this match. I think that would have been a great finish, but this was still very cool. I don't watch, like I said, as much 205 Live as I should, or have time for it every week. But if that doesn't rank, and this is from somebody who does not watch the show every week, and I will say this, if that match does not rank as one of the best matches in the history of that show, then it must be the greatest wrestling show ever made. Because this was fantastic. You know, and I could sit here and complain about the crowd, but it's not their fault. I've said this since the show was first announced. They need to tape this before SmackDown, not after. And I don't know if it's because, well, we call it 205 Live, and so it has to be live. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be live at all. You don't even have to change the name. You could still call it 205 Live. Who cares? Or rename it. Call it 205 Tape Delay. Who cares? But this would be much better, I think, in terms of crowd reactions, if they taped it before SmackDown and not after. Now, ideally, in a perfect situation, they would tape this at Full Sail. Not that Full Sail, believe me, not that Full Sail doesn't have its share of annoying fan chants, but I just think Full Sail would be a much better place for a show like this to be taped. Logistically, if they can't, then just do it before SmackDown. You don't do it after people have been sitting there for 3 hours, including all the dark matches. They've seen all the big stars, all the big names. And then you expect them to be up for this show the way they are for SmackDown? It's just not realistic. But you know what? These two guys got that crowd into this match. They won them back. And I think that's a credit to both guys. And Mustafa Ali, I'm watching him on the show and I can't help but think Mustafa Ali reminds me a lot of Seth Rollins. Not just in terms of like some of the stuff he does in the ring, but his look, his ring gear. He's like a dead ringer for Seth Rollins. He's like a more dynamic version of Rollins. And I mean that again as the highest compliment. This guy should be challenging for the Intercontinental title on Raw. I've praised him before. Look, I wanted him to win the Cruiserweight title over Cedric at WrestleMania. When I was making my predictions and my picks, I said I really would like to see Ali be the one to go over here. Not that I don't mind that Cedric got his big moment, but I was pulling for Ali. You go back and listen to Sound Off 532. I went back and noted the episode number. Sound Off 532 back in January. Read the description of the show. Praise for last week's 205 Live main event between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. Sound Off 536 back in February. Read the description. Praise for Mustafa Ali versus Jack Gallagher. There's a pattern here. Go back even earlier than that. Go back to January of last year. That's when I started putting over the inverted 450 that Ali does as my new favorite move. Neville's Red Arrow had been my favorite, but Ali edged it out with that inverted 450 that he does. I think it just looks great. So I've liked this guy for a while. Not just hopping on the bandwagon now. He's really, really good. And I think, and he can talk, and so you can't say, yeah, well, he doesn't speak the language or he doesn't, have good camera presence. He's got all of it. He's got all of that. Legitimately, the only reason not to do more with this guy is because he's, quote, too small. And he really isn't that small. They have guys on the roster that are far smaller than him. But I think it's great that he's been able to use 205 Live, and Triple H has been able to use him on 205 Live, use that as a platform for him to make a name for himself and to get noticed. But that's still a very small audience. Not a lot of people watch 205 Live. And I think he and Buddy Murphy both, before long, are going to be tearing it up on the main roster. And deservedly so.